Hi friends, welcome to Happy Nursing. Today we will discuss about realism. This will be our last traditional philosophy. After this we will be moving on to the modern philosophies. So let's see what realism is. The word realism is derived from the word real, which has its origin in the Greek word res, meaning object. Truly speaking, you will get plenty of definitions about realism from different books. So I am not emphasizing on giving any definition. The real problem exists in understanding. So I will try to make the concept of realism clear to you through the following points. The realist believes in a world of things or beings and in truth which we can observe. Means anyone who is a realist believes in something or some living beings which is visible through their own eyes. Next point is realism represents subject matter truthfully, that is not artificially and avoiding speculative and supernatural elements. Whatever is the subject matter, that should not be based on any artificial proof. It should avoid any speculative view. Means anything that is based on hypothesis, hypothetical view, which is not yet proved or which we do not know whether it is true or not. Realists believe that reality exists independent of the human mind. Means it doesn't matter what we think in our minds. Truth is whatever is scientifically proved and is in front of us, that which we can observe through our open eyes. The focus is on body or objects. As I said, whatever we can see or hold, that is the truth. Material world is given importance here. Cause and effect relationship and scientific principles are universal and universally accepted. Means whatever is going on in front of our eyes has some cause which has a scientific explanation, and the phenomenon which is happening is its effect. It should be fully based on scientific attitude and not related to thought. The realist views the learner as a sense mechanism, the teacher as a demonstrator, the curriculum as the subject matter of the physical world, and the teaching method as mastering facts and information. The learner will use his sense organs to understand the mechanism of a particular thing. Our sense organs are eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Through those we can hear, see, smell, taste and feel something by touching. The learners will use their sense organs in the same manner to understand something. Then only it will be considered as true. The teacher will demonstrate or give a practical evidence of truth in front of the learners. You know about the demonstrations and written demonstrations we have in the fundamentals of nursing, where we show a procedure by doing it ourselves. It's just like that. The curriculum should involve subjects like science and maths which are based on scientific principles, and the teaching method should be so as to master or to achieve optimum understanding of the facts and information. I hope I am able to make realism clear to you now. Friends, if you find my videos useful, then please subscribe my channel, otherwise there will be lack of motivation for me. Without further ado, let's get to the aims of education under realism. According to realists, aims are specific to each individual and his perspectives. This is called pluralistic concept. Pluralism means diversity. One individual's aim can be different from another according to his perspectives. The aim of education should be to teach truth rather than beauty, to understand the present practical life. For example, rather than focusing on the natural beauty of a place, the teacher will emphasize on the geographical laws and patterns involved in the place. The realists aim on putting greater stress upon the observation of nature and the education of science. Whenever we are learning something from nature, such as the occurrence of day and night, realism concentrates on teaching the scientific principle based on which the phenomenon happens and observe it. The realist's primary educational aim is to teach those things and values which will lead to the good life. Here good life means such a life where an individual will have all the answers to his questions, like what is the truth around himself, how is the world working, what are the principles based on which the events around us are happening. I have already said before that realism believes in a world which is actual or as it seems to us. There is no place for spiritual values or thought. So according to realists, man will lead a good and happy life when he will have a clear idea about the occurrences around himself. Otherwise, with vague and hypothetical ideas, he will always be in an unstable mental position and will not be able to lead a good life. Now, there is a fourfold aim of realistic education system: to recognize the truth about things as they really are, to extend the truth by coordinating or blending it into a functioning, to gain practical knowledge of life in general that is connected to the truth and theoretically justified, and finally to convey the truth to the human community in a convincing way. This is very complex, right? It will be easier to understand if I give you an example. For example, the Archimedes principle states that the weight of an object submerged in a fluid is equal to the weight of the fluid that is displaced by that object. Now, a realistic teacher, what will he do? After introducing himself with this truth, blends the principle with his daily life and apply it in his activities. As soon as he experiments it in his daily life, he can observe the proved principle and finally spread the knowledge to his students. Next is, realism aims at developing the physical and mental powers of the child. As it is already discussed, a learner perceives everything through senses according to realism. So, realism prepares a child for life by developing his physical and mental powers through the training of his sense organs. Realism aims at imparting vocational education. Vocational education is the education which helps an individual to secure employment in industry. It generally takes place at the post-secondary or higher education level and helps to prepare a child for life so that he can earn his own livelihood. So, at a glance, objectives of education under realism is to equip the students with knowledge and skill needed to understand their physical environment and adjust themselves to the realities of the physical world. Now, we will see how realism sees a child. The child has a really important place in realism. He has to be given freedom in the field of his feelings, desires and powers, because all these have real existence which cannot be overlooked. To the realist, a child is a functioning organism, a creature of the real world who can perceive the natural order of the world through his sensory perceptions and experiences. He has to be trained to proceed on the basis of facts and become a man only. He is not considered as a god or any spiritual being. The pupil must know to differentiate the situations based on whether they have any control over it or not and respond accordingly. For example, if it's raining, he can take an umbrella or raincoat with him while going out. So, he learns to control his experiences where such control is possible. But suppose there is a prediction of earthquake and nobody is advised to go out. In that case, he must recognize that the forced order of nature and accept that he cannot control his experience in this case. Next is how realism sees a teacher. According to realist, the teacher is responsible for introducing the student to the real world through lectures, demonstrations and sensory experiences, and that too not in a haphazard way. He must show him the regularities of nature so that he may come to understand the natural law. While the learning phase, the student is a novice and he looks at the world through his innocent eyes. The function of a realistic teacher is to explain the world and give accurate information about it in an unbiased way. That is only possible when he keeps his own views and opinions aside and as muted as possible. A teacher should be well versed with the customs, rights and duties of people and the trends of all ages and places so that he can teach those to the students. A teacher is neither a pessimist nor an optimist. He must be capable to present the hard realities of life to the students and expose them to the problems of life and the world around. That is only possible when he himself has mastery over the present world. Teacher should introduce his students with the stories of scientific discoveries, research and inventions and encourage them to engage in other research work. For that, he himself should have mastery over the subjects. Next is, I have prepared a few points. A teacher should always keep in mind the following things. Education should give The first one is simple to complex. Education should be given from simple to complex manner. For example, before studying the human body, its parts, how are they working, if we go directly to the disease and their mechanism part, we will never be able to understand. So, we have to know about the human physiology first, then we can go to study different body systems followed by different disease. Next is analyze. Students should be taught to analyze, means students should be made to examine something methodically and in detail in order to understand it. Next is vernacular medium. Students should be instructed in vernacular medium using the language spoken as one's own mother tongue, means they are not in favor of imposing any second language as we see in modern schools. Questioning and understanding. More emphasis is given on questioning and understanding rather than overflowing a child with information. Next is recapitulation. Recapitulation is done to assess how much knowledge the child can restore from his previous learning. Doing this every time makes the knowledge permanent. One subject at a time. One subject should be taught to the students at a time so that there is no pressure on the child. Next point is no pressure on the child. No pressure is brought upon the child, his interest should be identified and taught accordingly. Next is basic principle in all things. The student should be taught the basic principle in all things. Things should be introduced first and then the words. That means when a student is introduced with an object, for example say a telescope, he should be well explained the characteristic features of the telescope and for what it is used, so that he can remember and recall those features and recognize it as a telescope when he again sees it in future. Without doing so, if he is only taught about the name of the object, that see this is the telescope, then it is possible for him to easily forget. Next is knowledge should be gained after experience. The entire knowledge should be gained after experience. There should be a correlation between utility in daily life and education. Next is realism and curriculum. The main subject matter in a realistic curriculum is the matter of the physical universe. The real world is taught in such a way as to show the order in which the universal phenomena is going on. For that, science and its branches are important as subjects, because the laws of nature are most readily understood through the subjects of nature. Next is mathematics and social science. Mathematics is a precise and abstract subject for describing the laws of the universe, so it is needed. Social science deal with the mechanical and natural forces which bear on human behavior, so these subjects help in shaping the subject matter of a realistic curriculum. Natural sciences and contemporary social life rather than languages. Realism gives more importance to the study of natural sciences and contemporary social life compared to the study of languages, because the components of natural sciences and social life can be perceived through our senses. Next is national sciences, biology, physics, health, culture, physical exercise, maths, geography, history, astronomy and sports. The curriculum should be so arranged that it includes subjects to fulfill our utility and needs, and those subjects, those are connected to our daily life activities, and those subjects are this: national sciences, biology, physics, health, culture, physical exercise, maths, geography, history, astronomy, sports, etc. The curriculum should be scientifically approached, standardized and discipline based as said from the very beginning. Next is character of the child is developed through training of day-to-day activities. As I have said earlier, more stress is given on objects than words. Education is provided in mother tongue in a realistic curriculum. The children should be allowed to choose their own subjects according to their own interests and needs. Next is realism and methods of teaching. It's been said earlier that real knowledge comes only when the child learns through experience. So, the method of the realists involves teaching for mastery of facts and basic skills through demonstration and by teaching both the materials and their application. Inductive teaching. The realist prepares to use inductive logic in teaching, that is going from the particular sensory experience to the more general laws. Inductive is something which takes specific information and makes a broader generalization. That means drawing conclusion from specific to general. For example, a student is shown that the sun is rising from the east. He will understand that this is the universal law and learn that the sun always rises in the east. Scientific and based on object method. The method of teaching should be scientific and based on object method, which is explained earlier. Objects should be taught first and then the words. It focuses on heuristic method, which means such a method which enables the student to discover or learn something for themselves, and the correlation method, which helps students to find the relation between the cause and effect of a natural phenomena. Observation and experience. Realistic method focuses on excursion and tour, where the students can learn through observation and experience. Next is the Harbert's 5-step method. Realists believe in Harbert's 5-step method, which is preparation, presentation, association, generalization and application. First of all, preparation. Preparation is a process in which a new material is related to the relevant past ideas or memories in order to give the pupil a vital interest in the topic to be learned. Next is presentation. The new facts and materials to be learned are presented and explained. In the association phase, a definite attempt is made to show similarities and differences by comparing the new materials to those already learned. Generalization is drawing conclusion from the material learned to find a general rule, principle or law. Last one is application, which is using the acquired knowledge in daily life. Now, for example, when a student is taught the techniques to use a digital thermometer, at first he is reminded about the mercury thermometer, which he already knows how to use. This helps in arousing his interest. Next, the new features of digital thermometer are added. Then both are compared to understand the similarities and differences between them. Finally, the student understands the general principle behind the instrument and learns to use it in his daily life. Next is realism and discipline. Discipline is necessary in order to enable the child to adjust himself to his environment and concentrate on his work. The student has to admit the fact that bringing out change in the real world is impossible. He has to keep in mind that he himself is also a part of this world and should learn to adjust to the world. A disciplined student is one who adjusts to this material world without escaping from the cruelties and hardships of the world. Teacher organizes and presents the content of teaching, demonstrates how to make decisions in a systematic way within a discipline. Realism emphasizes on impressionistic and self-discipline. Impressionistic means which opposes punishing the children for discipline. Thus, discipline should not be imposed. Lastly, limitations of realism. Realism lacks a finite goal. Realism lacks an emotional appeal. Realism ignores the importance of emotions, imaginations, etc., which are also equally important in human life. More importance only to scientific subjects. Realism emphasizes too much on science and technology and ignores the importance of the aesthetic subjects like art, culture, religion and morality. But actually, science and technology do not have any value by themselves because they serve as instruments for developing our moral and aesthetic life only. Realism lacks a right of moral judgment. Realism has no faith in eternal values and ideals of life. It believes only in the harsh realities of life. Thus, it only supports practical judgment. But values and ideals are important because they give purpose to our life. So, that's all about realism, friends. We are at the end of our discussion of traditional philosophies. Now, we will start with the modern philosophies from our next video. If you like this video, then please like and share it and subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.